Welcome back to the channel. Gather around, ladies and gentlemen. I have a story to tell. My man Omar from Top Dog Sales YouTube channel, friend of mine who I've met through the community. I watched one of his videos yesterday, and I think I watched it again today. He was talking about how in his career he's a salesman or insurance salesman. And he sells, and he talked about his trials and tribulations when he first started, and then he read a book and he got better, and ultimately he got so good to where he was leading a team at USAA. By the way, I bank with USAA, Omar, if you're watching this. And if you know that I bank with USAA, then you probably know what I do as a profession. I'll talk about that later in my upcoming videos. But what I want to say is you've inspired me to create a video about how to become a better salesman. What you don't know is I have some experience in this as well. I was a salesman. It was a long time ago, but I did it. So I was in the military back in 2000. I got out the military in 2006 as an enlisted guy, and I had this dream that I was going to start a business and take over the world. And well, not take over the world, but I thought that if I got out the military and started a small business, that I would grow it and do really well, and I could have, I could dominate whatever industry I got into, because I felt like I had the work ethic, and that's kind of what I did. So I get out the military. So in order for me to tell you about how to become a better salesman, I got to kind of tell you the story, and then you'll see where I'm going with this. So just be patient if you're watching this, and if you're tuned in, thank you very much. Friday night, we're having a good time. So I got out the military, and I got into the pest control business. Termite and pest control business in the state of South Carolina. That's a big deal. Termite and pest control, they eat up lumber on your house, and you got to have it. If you don't, you could potentially have a lot of damage to your home. So my older brother, I have two older brothers. Benji, he passed away 2 years ago, but he was in that line of work. And then I have an older brother named Joseph. He was in it a little bit, but he was more of a sales guy. He has the gift of gab. He knows how to sell, ice to Eskimos. He knows how to make anything sound really, really good. The only problem with him is a lot of time he doesn't deliver. He can promise you the world, but he doesn't deliver. And you'll learn about him in this video. So I get out the military. I got into the pest control business. I did it for like a year or two, and then I went and got my state license. And I think I had $15,000. And I started up. I got my truck, my chemicals, my rig, my uniforms. My older brother Joseph, who's a good salesman, or he's really good at articulating things, he just got out of prison. And if you don't know, I come from a rough family, so yeah, he was in prison for a while. He got out, and he calls me one day, and he says, "Chance, I heard you had your termite and pest control license." And I said, "Yeah, I do." And then he says, "Oh, okay." He said, "I didn't know that, man." He says, "Well, good deal. Congratulations, buddy." Now, what he didn't know was I had been struggling trying to sell pest control. I think I had been in business for about 2 weeks. And I had, business cards. I had flyers. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just thinking that people who knew me from high school and from around the way, I thought that I would pick up customers. But that's not true. That's kind of like YouTube. You think that you have all these friends and family, and they're going to subscribe to your channel and they're going to follow you. But the truth is they really don't care, and they're not interested. Well, running a small business is a lot the same way. You go start a lawn care business or a pest control business, and you think you're going to get all these customers, and it doesn't happen that way. You end up usually getting a bunch of people who you don't even know because they fall in love with you somehow. There's something you said or done. That's kind of what happened to me later on, but let me back up. So I had been in business for 2 weeks, and what Joseph didn't know was I was struggling my butt off. I think I even had a nighttime job, and I just wasn't getting any sales, none. I was married, I had a kid, and so he says, and I knew he knew how to sell too. He says, "Well, let me ask you a question." He said, "If you got your license," he said, "won't you if you don't mind," he said, "can I come up there, and stay with you? I'll sleep in your shed out back." He said, "And let me just get up with you and go to work every day, and let me help you sell." He said, "Let me build that thing up for you." He said, "I know how to do it." He said, here's what I'll do for you, Chance. He said, if I don't sell anything, he said, then I don't make anything. If you don't sell, you don't eat. That's my thought process. That was what he told me. And so in my mind, I thought, well, I ain't got nothing to lose. You know, if anything, I got everything to gain. And so I thought about it and I said, okay. I said, I don't mind, Joseph, if you come up here. I said, but if you come up here, you got to do it my way. I mean, I got rules, and we ain't going to be running no bootleg company. Like when we show up to people's yards, we wear uniforms. We got decals on the truck. I'm licensed. I'm bonded. I got a reputation to protect. So we're going to do it the right way. And in the past, when he worked with my other brother in their business and stuff, they kind of ran it half janky. It was never a standard that I would ever do. You know, it wasn't done the right way in my mind. You got to remember, I was in the military, so I had specific ways of doing things. It was kind of regimented. And he told me, he said, no problem, Chance. You the boss, you the boss. I said, all right, I'll come pick you up the next morning or tomorrow morning. So I went the next morning, took and picked him up. And when he got my truck, I had a shirt for him, a polo shirt that had the name of the company. It said First Chance Termite and Pest Control. I had a black pair of pants with him, a black pair of pants, a belt, some white tennis shoes. That was the look. And I'll display a picture here, right here, or right here, so you can see it. And so, you know, we looked really clean. The truck was clean, armor all down. We looked sharp. At least when we pulled up to a customer's house, if we didn't have any customers, at least we looked like we were legit, you know. And when I gave him the uniform and stuff, his eyes just lit up. Because he could tell he was just like, this is going to like taking candy from a baby is the way he thought. He just had so much confidence, you know what I mean? So we go to the first neighborhood, and I really didn't know how to manage him. I didn't know how to deal with him because he's my older brother, and I knew he knew how to sell stuff. I mean, he was good at convincing me to do things that sometimes I didn't even want to do, but he was good at it. So he asked me, this is what I told him. I said, and it's crazy because this happened so long ago, but I can remember it like it was yesterday. But I told him, I said, all right, Joseph, I said, there's some flyers in the back seat. You know, let's just get out and start going through the neighborhood and putting them on mailboxes or doors, and we'll go from there. Me trying to be in charge, right? Like I know what was going on. And he looked at me and he said, flyers? I said, yeah. And then he says, you got any business cards? And I said, yeah, in that glove compartment. I think I had 1,000 business cards. He said, give me them business cards. And the business cards, I think, actually have my name on them. And he didn't care, though. He said, well, later on, I'll get my own business cards. He said, but right now, I just need a phone number to give these people. And I said, all right. I said, you don't want the flyers? He said, no, I don't need those flyers. He said, you pass those out. So he went one way and I went the other way. And I was passing flyers on the mail. That's what I was doing. And I had been doing this for about 2 or 3 weeks and it wasn't working. But what he was doing, I think by the time I got to the 5th or the 6th house, he was still on house number 1. And what he did was he knocked on the door. And when he knocked on the door, I noticed he was talking to the homeowner. And the next thing you know, he's out there in the yard. She's got a baby in her arm, and he's walking around, and he's talking to her. He's still on house number 1, and I'm like on house number 8, passing flyers out, right? And I'm like, what in the world is he up there talking about? Long story short, by the time I get through the neighborhood, I think I probably hit 25 houses. He probably got to about 6 houses. Out of the 6 houses that he physically knocked on the doors, he had sold pest control to those guys. I think we were charging $45 a quarter back then. So he made, 45 times 3, whatever that is. Was that 125 or something? I don't have a calculator. I'm not good at math, but he'd sold 3 of them quick, just like that. And we get in the truck, and long story short, by the end of the day, when we got done, I probably passed out 800 flyers, and he probably sold 6 or 7 contracts or six or 7 accounts. And they were all $45 a pop. So we have to go to the bank because I would pay him that day because he's literally living out my shop out back. He needed money, So I would pay him like $400 or $500 a day. I wasn't making anything. And so I paid him. And I would come home and I would tell my wife. My wife would say, how did the day go or whatever. And I'd tell her I had to pay Joseph $400 or $500. It kind of got to where it was embarrassing because I'm the owner of the company and he's making $500-$600 a day and he's my worker, right? So the way it worked out was with pest control is whenever he would sell it, he would get the initial, but then like after a quarter, whenever we went back around as a company to get the next treatment or whatever, that went to me, to the company. So he would get the initial sale, the company would get everything after. So that's how we were doing it. So he, and he didn't care about the residual, because at that moment in his life, he was just trying to make money. He didn't. I was trying to build the company, so I was thinking long term. He was thinking short term. And I would always try to tell my wife, like, don't worry about it. We're going to get the benefits later. At the end of 90 days, next quarter, we'll get that account. He's out there doing good things for the company. But my wife didn't see it that way. She was wanting to try to make me give him 10% and we get the rest and all this other stuff, like the other companies like Terminex and Orkin do. But you got to understand, when you're dealing with somebody like Joseph, my brother, 10% ain't worth his time. He won't even do it, so it was a good deal. So after about 3 days of me paying this guy $500-600 a day, I honestly think that Joseph felt sorry for me, because I was his little brother. I was the owner of the company. I had to go home and tell my wife this. I think he felt sorry for me. And we was in the truck, and this was the turning point. And this is the message that you need to understand in this video. I don't care what industry you're in, lawn care, insurance, pest control, anything. This is what I learned. This is what Joseph taught me. Joseph, if you're out there watching this, I love you. This is what you learned, or this is what you taught me. He asked me, he said, Chance, let me ask you a question. He said, when you knock on these doors, he said, what are you telling the homeowners? Like, what are you saying to them? And I said, I don't know. I said, I introduced myself. He said, no, like, talk to me like you do them, because I want to know exactly what you're saying. And I said, okay. I said, good morning, ma'am. My name is Chance. I'm with First Chance Pest Control. It just started my business up 3 weeks ago. I'm a former soldier in the military. I served in the 82nd Airborne Division and served my country for 5 years. And now I'm here in the town and trying to start a local business. And we'd love to, do your work. Something to that nature, right? I think I got midway through it, and he shut me down. And he said, listen, Chance, I love you. He said, no offense. He said, please, what I'm about to tell you, I'm just telling you as a big brother, and I don't want you to take offense to it. I said, okay. He said, nobody gives a damn that you served your country. He said, we appreciate that, and we thank you for that. He said, but when you're knocking on these doors, he said, these people want to know how you're going to take care of their bug problem, and if you can do it in an affordable manner that's going to make their problem go away. A lot like YouTube. When you're doing YouTube videos, how can you give somebody content that's going to be value added for them to keep you watching, right? Same principle here. We was knocking on doors. Now we're doing YouTube videos. It's the same philosophy, right? So he says, they don't really care that you served in the country. So you don't even need to tell them that. He said, now later on, once you get the account and you get to know these people and you tell them that, that's different. He said, but off the rip, they need to know what you provide, how you're going to help them, and how they're going to benefit. He said, because at the end of the day, they want to benefit. That's what they care about. And he said, and another thing, he said, the name of your company is First Chance Pest Control, or First Chance Termite Pest Control. I said, yeah. He said, don't tell them that. He said, because when they hear you say that your name is Chance, they're going to put 1 and 2 together, and they're going to realize that you're a small-time guy in town, and they don't want to mess with small-time guys. They want big guys, big companies for the price that the small-time guy can do it at. He said, you want them to think that you've got 10 trucks on the road. He said, you don't want to lie to them. He said, but you want to frame it to where you're a lot larger than what you are, and we can provide the same thing that Terminex and Orkin can. He said, so for example, what you should say is this: good morning, ma'am. My name is Chris, because my middle name is Christopher, right? He said, good morning, ma'am. My name is Christopher. I'm with First Chance Pest Control. He said, when you do it that way, they don't really know. They can't put that together. They don't know if you're the owner or a salesman or a technician. They don't know what it is. He said, and then we need to develop you a pitch. And I said, okay. And so, I was just listening to him. And what I noticed with him was when he would get out there in the yard with these homeowners, it became personable, and he was just selling them, and he always had eye contact with them. When the homeowner would start moving their eyes, he'd kind of follow them. He was always right there with them, and it was always here to here. And he just did a good job of that. And so as we started going through he started helping me with my pitch. He says, I I started working on it. I'd go home at nighttime and work on what I wanted to say and how I wanted to frame it. And I started studying and figuring. I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People or something like that. I started learning how to go in there with a plan on how to knock on the door. So my pitch would be something like this after I refined it. And it's been 15, 20 years since I've done this, but it was something like this. Good morning, ma'am. My name is Chris. I'm with First Chance Pest Control. And I'd point back there at the truck, and they'd see that nice, clean truck, right? I say, my name is Chris. I'm with First Chance Pest Control. Today we're in your neighborhood, and we're offering quarterly pest control services. Now, most companies like Orkin and Terminex, they charge you roughly $85 to $95 a quarter. Well, with First Chance, we're going to charge you $45 a quarter. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come into your home, and we're going to spray around the perimeter of your house with a very, very low cost chemical that won't hurt you or your children or your animals. We'll do the entire perimeter of the indoor of the home. We're going to move to the exterior. We're going to go all around the perimeter of the home, 3 feet along the grass and 3 feet up the side of the walls there. We're going to do all of the exterior of your windows, your garage doors. And ma'am, we encourage you to call us during the quarter if you have any issues. We'll come back free of charge. And we're going to do it for $45 a quarter. Because we're in your neighborhood today, this is the special that we're offering. Ma'am, if you do the math, that's roughly $1 a day to keep the bugs away. And so it was something like that, right? And I was getting good enough to where I could anticipate what these people were going to ask me. You know, they would say things like, well, I don't know now because it's been so long, but I was getting to where every homeowner was kind of the same. You could kind of anticipate what they were about to say. And you had a response for it, right? And you had to always maintain eye contact, and you had to be confident. And another thing was this. When I would knock on the door, I would always turn my back like this right here. And then when they would answer the door, I'd give them about 2 seconds, and then I would turn around and say, hey, ma'am, how you doing? Because it would always be awkward is whenever I knock on the door, and they open the door, and I'm standing there like this. It was almost like I was a stalker, right? So everything was tactical, strategically planned, and we did it intentionally. It was just, we got really good at it. I got so good at it to where I was selling 5 and 6 contracts a day. I think in a summer and within like 2 months, I sold 126 contracts of quarterly pest control at $45 a quarter. Sold a bunch of termite jobs too. And then ultimately, I think after about 2 years of me being in the business, I got out of it, and I went back into went back into the military. But one of the main reasons why I got out of it, to be honest with you, is because I just didn't love it. I think whatever you do, you gotta love. You genuinely gotta wake up in the morning and say, I honestly love what I'm doing, and I'm coming in here and I do it. I think once I learned how to sell and I understood the process and was getting good at it, I don't know, the thrill was gone. But when I couldn't do it, it was a challenge, and so it was fun. So I got out of it, went back in the military, and so I guess the moral of the story is whatever you're getting into, if you're going to be a good salesman, whether it's insurance, pest control, retail, whatever it is, know what it is you're trying to sell. Like I knew what pest control could and could not do. I understood the insects we were trying to target. I understood my area. I understood what the other companies were doing and what their price points were. And I understood how the person who I was talking to was going to react, and I understood their problems and concerns, and I was anticipating what they were going to say every time. And I got really good at it. Joseph did too. And we got out of it, and I sold the business and left. But I guess that would be my 2 cents to you, whatever you're in. I think I really wanted to make this video because I seen the video from Top Dog from Omar, and he really brought back a lot of memories, and it was a good time and it was fun. Of course, he leads a team. I never really had a team. I had Joseph, and that was about it. But it was just good. It was fun. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Just bringing back memories. We got like 6 or 7 subscribers now. Hey, I appreciate you guys joining the channel, and I hope that my stories inspire you. I'm going to try to create some more content for you, and I hope you enjoy your night. You guys take it easy. Thank you. Be good.